A search warrant was carried out against Vince McMahon. Plus, the Elite has re-signed with AEW. And Tony Khan has responded to Triple H's secondary promotion comments. It's all in the wrestling news right now. WWE held their quarterly report, and the media call following that, some explosive stuff about Vince McMahon came out in the media call, didn't it, Jack?
So much news has come out. In fact, this video is, I'll say, pound for pound, story for story, maybe the most newsworthy video we've done in a long time.
The most exciting news video in the history of our sport.
Yes, we're starting off with Vince McMahon seemingly receiving a visit from federal agents in July. As Tom mentioned, this came out during the meeting today, or the call, I guess. The meeting, the call?
It'd be a media call, like a call. Earnings call.
Vince obviously resigned as WWE CEO and chairman in July 2022 following the sexual misconduct and hush money scandal. This came after an internal investigation from WWE's board of directors, which noted that Vince had spent tens of millions of dollars, apparently, to suppress allegations of sexual misconduct and infidelity. Vince then resigned. This is just a brief summary, but Vince then resigned after it emerged that federal prosecutors and the SEC had opened investigations into the payments. Despite them being made by Vince, they should have been declared in the company's accounts. Obviously, it's a publicly traded company. People are going to be like, what? What's he doing?
Yeah, why is that money being moved around?
The 77-year-old Vince McMahon then forced his way back into WWE in January of 2023, being appointed executive chairman because he'd agreed to sell WWE to Endeavor following WrestleMania, with that WWE UFC ongoing merger under TKO Group Holdings going on. Now, the investigations from the US government remain ongoing about these payments, despite Vince's return to WWE, and it was revealed within today's financial results that the federal law enforcement agents executed a search warrant and served a federal grand jury subpoena on Vince McMahon on July 17th. So I think a lot of us thought when he came back to WWE because of the Endeavor and the merger and all that sort of thing, that this might, unfortunately as well, might fade away into the past and people would kind of remember it as a blip. This would suggest that maybe that's not quite the case.
Not at all, no. So to bring you up to speed, as you all heard there, and this I didn't know whether we get to this point. As you say, we thought it might just fade away, but hearing that Vince McMahon had a search warrant served. And this legal thing will not go away. I'm sure not. They were very much hoping that it would. Yeah. The TKO Holdings merger hasn't yet finished.
Yes.
And you'd hope that any sort of legal wranglings might have gone away whilst this was all going on. This is something that they have to report about because they are a shared company. That's why it came up in the call today, and whether or not this affects things going forward, we don't know. We also know from the media call today that Vince McMahon has had major spinal surgery. This was reported just the other day, but we know that he is currently on an extended leave of absence recovering from that surgery. So we've spoke a few times over the past few weeks and months about times where Vince is backstage or Vince is working remotely. It looks like we're not going to have Vince McMahon in the gorilla position on Raw or SmackDown or even NXT for quite some time.
Although it does point out here that Nick Khan said that he will remain in his role as executive chairman. So Vince isn't stepping back in any sort of official capacity, but as Tom says, day to day, I think we can probably expect to see maybe even less of him than we have been.
And I think there is a difference with Vince. I think Vince will very much have like his hand on the company and will have a say in stuff. That doesn't stop. But there certainly is a palpable difference between Vince McMahon offering thoughts and adding stuff from home as opposed to Vince McMahon being in the building.
Yes.
We've noticed that there is more rewrites and last minute changes to Raw when Vince McMahon is sat near the entrance.
Yes, it's like a compulsion, like he can't help himself do it.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like anyway.
Constantly like moving parts he does more of when he's there. So we may see that reflected on WWE TV.
Maybe so. And it's a reminder as well that as much as things under Triple H seem to have sort of stabilized more than it was previously in terms of the product and continuity and storylines and everything, behind the scenes, there's still this very volatile situation going on. There's still the merger that's ongoing, and there's still now, as we've learned today, possible legal ramifications still to come as well.
Other things from the media call, WrestleMania, a massive financial success for WWE, probably one of the biggest they've ever done. They had the highest rated Backlash event of all time. That came from the media call. I'm not surprised. That event in Puerto Rico was incredible. They're currently in negotiations for media rights with Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. So this is where they can shop the programs around for a good deal. Obviously, the playing field changes every year with more movement towards streaming, as we've seen, and the money maybe not being there as much as it was maybe a few years ago, but they're certainly in the process of marketing Raw, SmackDown, and NXT still. And as we've already said, the TKO Holdings merger with WWE and the UFC is set to close the second half of this year.
Although I never know how well to, because that's what Nick Khan believes, but would he, how likely is that? It's impossible to really tell, isn't it? When it's like
they will, in the eyes of the law, because they're a publicly traded company, they've got to be as transparent as they have to be. They have to be transparent with it.
It seems like Nick Khan genuinely believes that this deal will close in the second half of this year.
Yeah, as far as everything that they know, these things can take time. I think everyone just assumed. I mean, they only, the announcement was only made in April, so it does take some time for these things to come through. Wow. But the news regarding Vince McMahon and a search warrant being carried out against him, that's going to be a factor. Yes. I do believe in some way, shape, or form.
Tom, let's cross the line now. Let's get away from all that
TNA wrestling.
Yeah, let's go to TNA. Let's cross the line to All Elite Wrestling, because there's big news coming out of AEW as well. Sports Illustrated first reported it, and AEW themselves have since confirmed that there have been some major re-signings of some of the top names probably in AEW.
Yeah, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, Hangman Page, all signing multi-year deals with All Elite Wrestling. Yes, the elite, the elite are staying elite. Tony Khan, in an official statement, said the elite has been so important to the launch of AEW, with the Young Bucks going all in when I first approached them in 2018 about my dream to create an international pro wrestling promotion. Shortly after that, their partners and closest friends, Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page, joined us to formally launch AEW. All four of them have been instrumental to AEW's success from the very first episode of Dynamite in 2019 through to the present day. Now, as we celebrate tonight's 200th episode of Dynamite, I'm excited to share that Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and Hangman Adam Page will all be staying in AEW for years to come, and we look forward to the great news celebrating the great news with fans all around the world.
Wow, this isn't. I don't think this is too much of a surprise. But on the other hand, since all this strife and all the all out or the brawl out and all the CM Punk stuff, there were rumblings that maybe the Bucks and Kenny or some combination or Hangman would go, you know what, I'm sick of all this, I'm off. So this is kind of confirmation that that's not the case, and they are very much sticking around. Midway through you reading that statement, my tummy made a little noise, and I'm worried
that the excitement of the elite thing with AEW?
It was the spicy chicken I had for lunch.
Well, let's get that in the news video quick, right at the end. There was a lot of people that did genuinely think that maybe there would be a conscious idea that Kenny, the Bucks, Page, or some might move to WWE, but as we've discussed via numerous reports from the likes of Fightful Select and Wrestling Observer, their contracts are so sort of tightly put together that there would never truly be a window open enough for WWE to begin negotiations with them. So this always seemed to be the way to go, but it's certainly a thing to see it written down in black and white. That they are staying for the long haul.
Yes, and it was also pointed out that they will remain in their executive vice president positions within the promotion, roles they've occupied since it was launched in January 2019.
Now, the other former EVP of AEW, Cody Rhodes, was mentioned this week. His documentary came out, which tells the story of him returning to WWE, and a lot of fans picked up on a comment that was made by Triple H, in which he talks about how Cody Rhodes' dream was always to win the WWF title or the WWE title and not win a title in a secondary promotion. Quite strong words.
It's a jibe.
It is one that a lot of fans picked up on, and Tony Khan, of course, picked up on it as well, and he has made a comment to the Orlando Sentinel about Triple H's secondary promotion comment.
He said, "We certainly won't be the secondary promotion at All In. We're number one in the UK, on TV, and with a record gate. I have a lot of respect for Cody. I know these weren't his words, to be fair, but we are not secondary in a lot of markets. For the first time in a long time, WWE has been secondary in a lot of markets. I'm proud of where we're at, and we're not taking a backseat to anybody."
There's a lot to be said for the fact that with All In, that is whether you are a fan of AEW or not, you have to say that is an impressive number.
It's a huge statement to make, to go, we'll have Wembley Stadium and we'll sell it out. It's
without a single match being announced.
Oh yeah, of course.
You should announce a match.
Please, quickly, Tony, quick. Although I saw Bully Ray or Bubba Ray Dudley saying that By this stage, he would just have the whole show be a mystery. I was like, wow, can you imagine that?
Oh, like an unboxing show, those ones that Progress used to do.
But on like on a stadium level, it would be crazy.
I'm looking forward to QT Marshall versus Ricky Starks in the main event.
Serpentico.
Yes, come on, Serpentico. We'll have more wrestling news throughout the day and the latest on our breaking stories today at cultaholic.com. And you'll be on Twitch about now, won't you?
I'll be on Twitch shortly, 6 p.m, twitch.tv/cultaholic. What a week it's been.
What a week, and it's only Wednesday.
Oh my God.
Stay safe. Love you. Bye.